It's a wonderful wish. I think I've got the hang of it now, switching between my devil form and human form. I'm kind of like a whale. I can swim in the waters of the mortal realm for a while, but I'd always need to go back into the shadows for air. Of course, all of this could have been avoided. I literally have the gift to turn myself into a doll for protection. Why didn't I do that? My neck can't be slit if there's a concrete load of porcelain covering it. Yeah, I'm never going to live that one down. I'll always be kicking myself for that mistake. Otherwise, things are okay now. I mean, they'll never be the same. But what's new? Joey loves my devil form. He turns almost as red as me when he sees it. It's actually boosted my confidence a lot. I look well fit, and it comes with certain assets. I feel the most like myself in devil form. It freed me from the shackles of my human body. It truly is a gift. This isn't to say I don't appreciate my mortal side. There is only so much a devil can do. And the underworld is not only confining, but so much louder than I expected. I guess it was quieter when I was last there because all the shadows were listening to us. Now they won't shut up. Imagine billions of people shouting over each other. Not just the people, but the animals and the trees and the weirdest ones of all, the food. Every shadow talks. They're all moaning about going too soon, so many unfinished stories. There's only so much I can take. They call me their lord, Charlemagne, second lord of the shadows. It has a nice ring to it. I knew there was a reason I named myself after a Holy Roman Emperor, but it's far too much, which is why I love the old faithful meat suit I was born in. Well, most of it anyway. Nothing a good surgeon can't help with. I think of all this as I stare blankly at myself in the mirror, whilst I'm scrubbing down my body. Joey's waiting patiently for me to finish. He offered to join me, and as much as I'd love to see him, and I'd love him to, I'm just not ready for that yet. Something tells me we wouldn't just be showering side by side. It's a discussion that we haven't paid much thought to in the last few weeks, not since everything that's happened, but now he's fully settled into our room, laying next to each other all night. It's an inescapable discussion. I step out the shower onto the cold tile floor, squealing at the sudden change in temperature. I've become so accustomed to the heat of the underworld, everything feels freezing in comparison. I throw a towel around my waist after drying for a bit and fall back into the habit of staring at my reflection. I place my fingers to the scar on my neck and sigh before stroking the new scars on my arm as well. It doesn't matter how much raw meat I eat. These scars will be with me for the rest of my life. A lifetime remembering the day I died. Chucky, hurry up! I smell like Anakin's new terrarium. Joey yells through the door. I notice my towel rise a tiny amount as I get lost in the image of inhaling Joey's musky scent. I splash some tap water on my face and tighten my towel as I open the door into our bedroom. I give Joey a light kiss as I perch myself on the edge of our bed. Young love, eh? I jump to my feet and stumble backwards through the ensuite door as shirtless Joey catches me under the arms. What is wrong with you? I stare out into our bedroom looking for the source of the voice, but I see nothing. I compose myself and apologise. It was probably one of the shadows falling around, though they've never bothered me in my human form before. I head back into the bedroom and change into my PJs, which is just an old band shirt from the 90s and a pair of tight grey boxers. Then I lay down waiting for Joey. Laying down was a mistake. Once I opened my eyes, it was morning. Joey had made himself comfortable under my arm with his head pressed against my chest. This is the life. I could stay in bed like this forever. Guys, you need to come downstairs right now. Zena bursts into our room, making Joey shoot up like a jack-in-the-box. Guess he wasn't as asleep as I thought. I go to yell at Zena to get lost, but she beats me to it. I'm not messing around, it's urgent. Downstairs now. After throwing on a pair of lounging bottoms and spraying myself with a couple of puffs of deodorant under my arms, we both make our way downstairs to find the family gathered in the living room. I clock Adelaide here as well, so I assume she stayed with Zena last night. And then I see another woman standing in the corner of the room, smiling away as if this were a completely normal thing to be doing at this time of day. I look at Joey, wondering if she was some kind of relative of his he'd never mentioned, someone who was a few days late for his birthday perhaps, but he looks just as confused as everybody else. I suppose you're wondering why I'm here. The woman looks around the room, focusing on all of us. Yeah, you could say that. Zena crosses her arms and stands in front of Adelaide, shielding her. Don't worry, I'm a good archetype. I've not come to cause you any harm. In fact, I want each and every one of you to have a gift. The woman spins around, throwing a ton of glitter around the room as she swirls. Wait, did she just say an archetype? I heard about you all coming together to take down that nasty devil, and I just had to come down as quickly as I could. I know it's been a week or two, but I only have little wings. She flutters her two small translucent butterfly wings behind her, throwing up even more glitter. There's no such thing as a good archetype. Mum pulls baby in closer to her chest, bouncing him up and down as she does. Why isn't there? You haven't even got to know me yet. My name is... We don't want your name. We want you gone. Xena challenges her. Very well, I'll go. Guess I'll just find another worthy family to give these wishes to. The woman shrugs and begins walking away. Wishes? Dad asks before the fairy woman looks over her shoulder at us all. 7 to be exact. 1 for each of you, but it doesn't matter if none of you are interested. Are you? She turns once again with a noticeable smug grin on her face. We all start counting around the room. Dad shushes us and starts counting out loud. Mother, me, Ellen, that's 3. Xena, Charles, Joey, Adelaide, and Baby. The count seems off a bit. Maybe you didn't include Baby as he's an infant? Why are you offering us wishes? What game are you playing here? Mum quizzes her. No game here. In fact, once all of your wishes are complete, I will combust and be out of your hair for good. Granting wishes is my sole life's purpose. It's clear nobody trusts her, but she is an archetype, so we have to be careful. As for the count being off, a couple of you will have to share a wish. Heck, I'll even split a wish in 2 and share it between the baby and the pig. Sharing is caring after all. How do you split a wish in 2? Dad glances between babies and truffles, confusion written all over his face. What about Anakin? Doesn't he get a wish too? Xena points out. The toad? Don't be silly, my girl. Only creatures originally from this realm can make wishes in this realm. Toads are not of this realm. You learn something new every day, I guess. Mum pulls us all off to the side. I think we should go along with what she says. I don't trust her, but she's clearly not going to go anywhere until we make a wish. Honey, I'll share my wish with you. That means there are 6 wishes and 2 half wishes between us. Everyone okay with that? We all nod. Sounds like a plan. The fairy has her head just above Mum's shoulders, listening into our conversation. I'll go in age order and then grant all your wishes at the same time. She turns to grandmother. What is your wish, old woman? I wish to spend one more day with Arthur alive. We're all touched by the sentiment, except the fairy, who moves on swiftly. You two. She points her wand between Mum and Dad, who confer for a moment before Mum steps forward and says, We wish to relive our first date. Charlemagne, you'll go. I have no idea what I want to wish for. I could wish for anything in the world, but all I've ever truly wanted was Joey, so I guess my wish is to live a lifetime with him. I make my wish, and the fairy looks at Joey. Do you consent to being part of Charlemagne's wish? He nods, and that's that. My wish has been made. Not that I'd ever take it back. I really want it. It's really all I want. I wish for my parents to see me win at least one more match. Joey makes his wish before the fairy even gets to him. She nods and turns to Adelaide. I wish to play a lead role in this year's panto. Then to Xena. I wish to spend one day without my powers. We all gasp. Even a fairy looks taken aback for a moment before bending down to Truffles and Baby. From my perspective, it doesn't sound like they wished for anything, but they must have done, because the fairy nods with approval and begins waving her wand. Your wishes are my command. There's a flash of golden light before everyone but Joey and I disappear. I look at him relieved, and he looks back to me with the biggest smile on his face. I assume the rest of my family have disappeared to fulfill their own wishes. It doesn't matter. Joey is here, and I get to spend a lifetime with just him. It's a dream come true. Joey and I spent our days in each other's company. We still had work to do and all the other mundane stuff, but we were together and only grew closer and closer as the days passed by. Since my parents were gone, the house is mine. No paperwork needed. Caring for our house was not an easy job, Mum, Dad and Grandmother used to share the responsibility between themselves, but it was just Joey and I dealing with everything from bills to defects. I didn't realise how much growing up I still had to do. Days turned to months, and I got my first promotion, Head of Human Resources. I also booked my first appointment to speak with a surgeon about getting bottom surgery. I know it's what I needed. Since seeing my body in devil form, I had some experience of how it feels to have a penis, and I have to say it felt pretty damn good. By that point, Joey had seen it, and he was also very impressed and intimidated. The discussion of sleeping together was one we're still having. As I became more and more confident in my body, I felt like maybe we could do this. I'll always be here to support Joey no matter what happens. I saw him grow so much over the past years, and I thought he was ready to take on anything. It wasn't much longer before we were doing the deed on the regular. I'd still not had my surgery, but it still felt good. We did things I didn't even know my body was capable of, and things I had no idea I was even into. It was so much fun. Joey's powers didn't manifest right away, but they would. We both knew it, and we prepared for anything and everything. He was safe and happy, which is all that mattered to me. The powers came at quite a surprising time. I was in the middle of making us both a sandwich when I felt something whack me in the back of my head. I turned sharply to see Joey smiling awkwardly holding a baseball. He set it down on the table before pushing another one out of his palm. We ran some experiments to see how far his ability could go, and it was actually really cool. He can secrete any kind of ball he wants from basically anywhere on his body. Trust me, we checked everywhere. The most impressive was him pushing a bowling ball out through his belly button, and the creepiest was him turning his eyes into ping pong balls and pushing them out of his sockets. All things considered, it's not the worst power imaginable. The next biggest thing to happen to us came as even more of a shock. I almost fainted when I found out. As I was having tests done to see if surgery was possible, they found something growing inside of me. A baby. We never planned to be pregnant. I certainly wasn't prepared to carry a baby full term, and we had a lot of long and difficult discussions. Eventually I decided I wanted to keep it. The more I thought about how much I missed my family, the more enticing the thought of growing ours became. Of course, it pushed my medical transition back a lot, but the lifeless jelly bean that was growing inside of me felt right. I can't explain it more than that. It just felt right. As the months passed and the fetus grew, I began having cravings. Thankfully, it was nothing as dramatic as human flesh. Those days are well past us, though I had no qualms of giving Joey a little nibble once or 7 times a day. What I craved more than anything in the world was apples, the forbidden fruit, the citrusy delight. I needed them more than anything in the world. One day, when I was feeling particularly crap, Joey brought an apple to our bedroom. He'd spent ages carving it into the shape of a rose. I cried when I saw it. It was probably just a pregnancy brain, but in that moment, that apple rose was the most beautiful thing, Joey aside, I'd ever laid eyes on, until I gave birth to our very own apple rose weeks later. Parents aren't kidding when they say children grow up so fast. It felt like by the time she'd had her first smile, it was time to send Apple Rose off to school for the first time. We had our concerns that she wouldn't fit in, what with her budding powers and all, but she took to school life so quickly. All her closest friends knew she was different, and we had left it to her whether she wanted to share her gift with the world or not. It was her powers, her choice, we kept telling her. But it wasn't until her 15th birthday that she finally revealed her powers to her girlfriend Emery. That's so cool, we overheard Emery from outside her daughter's bedroom. I knew we shouldn't have been eavesdropping, but this was a huge moment for her, and we wanted to be there, kind of projecting our support through the wall. You think so? I can do other stuff too. My dad's joke that I'm the queen of the toy box. So you can turn your body into any material imaginable. Not quite, only constructive materials like metal, wood and plastic. Since the day she took her first steps, our daughter had been shifting her body into all kinds of material. She can't change her whole body at once, unlike me in my doll form, but she can adjust a fair percentage of her body at a time. Apple Rose was outed by Emery weeks later, which led to speculation about Joey and I. The press began digging into our private lives. We've received death threats, staring in the street. Emery deeply regrets what she did, but it couldn't save her relationship with our daughter. Now, a year later, we're all still dealing with the aftermath of the witch hunt, amongst other things. Joey has been getting sicker and sicker. It started with him coughing up tennis balls covered in blood. Now he's bedbound. He refused to stay in hospital. He wanted to stay home with his family, and knowing there was nothing more they could do, the doctors let him. Now Apple Rose and myself are by his side, waiting for the moment we lose him forever. I've tried bringing him to the underworld, but the thickness of the shadows only escalated his condition. This was the disease that killed his father. We'd prepared for the possibility, but never expected it to come this soon. "Thank you for making my life more magical," are his last words to us. I hold Apple Rose close to me as the life leaves his eyes. I don't know how to continue without him, but I need to stay for our daughter. She needs us more than ever. "Time's up!" A voice I haven't heard in years shakes the room. We turn to see the fairy smiling away. I scream at her, confused as to why she was here. How dare she come on this day? "You wished for a lifetime. That's one singular lifetime, and now one is over. Your wish is complete. This is what you wanted, Charlemagne, and now it's over." The room begins crumbling around us, the walls cracking and dissolving into steam. No, this can't be happening. "Dad!" I feel my daughter becoming lighter in my arms. I look at her as the skin on one side of her face begins cracking and bleeding thick black blood. She's in so much pain and I can't help her. I beg for her to be spared. I tell her to change her skin into something more sustainable. She creates a fake casing of metal, but it's not long before even that begins showing the wires and cogs beneath it. I look to the fairy for help. I wish for my daughter's protection. "What have you done?" The fairy panics. "You can't make a wish in the wish realm." Apple Rose falls to the ground and tries to get back on her feet, but she's pulled into the ground and sinks out of view, screaming for me. Just like Joey. She's gone. The room shifts into the living room and the rest of my family reappear. I shake my head confused. I have no recollection of anything that's just happened, or even if anything had. "My work here is done." The fairy bows before dissipating into smoke and floating towards Xena, whose palm glows a bright purple. "Wait, she didn't grant our wishes, did she?" Xena asks, confused. We look around the room and everyone shifts uncomfortably. Some people have tears in their eyes. I guess she did. I don't know why, but I pulled Joey into the biggest hug I've ever given. I've never wanted him in my arms more in my life.